The secret 2007 build of Batman Arkham Asylum. The map looked completely different, featuring multiple islands with different bridges to each of those islands, such as a bridge to the Lighthouse, which wasn't accessible in the final game, and Chapel Rock, which was an island with a church and a cemetery, where the Batcave originally was meant to be located before the island was scrapped entirely. The art style was very different as well, with Batman looking much slimmer and younger than he ended up being. They seem to be going for a much more cartoonish style to the game. Provided by Back to Life, we can see that Gordon and Joker look a lot more like they did in the Batman animated series. Something that was extremely difficult at the time was actually viewing these files and levels. A lot of these files were corrupted, but data miners such as Back to Life and Eversolong were able to recover some of the files such as images, cutscenes and some models. Why do I bring this up though? Well, this is because very recently, a developer named Ellie was able to create a custom Unreal Engine 3 based editor for Rocksteady's Arkham Asylum. You probably have seen this in action with GP Unity's video titled "I made Gotham City playable in Batman Arkham Asylum using this editor." This editor allowed data miners to load levels that were previously inaccessible, and Eversolong was kind enough to provide me screenshots that he could get a hold of. Sadly, we don't have too much context to these apart from the photos, but I'll try my best to figure out what they were for, and if you want to put in your own input, I would appreciate that. Starting off with Asylum_C6_static, which I assume is chapter 6 of the game, and most likely the rooftop of the asylum, which looks more like a starting area after a loading screen rather than anything significant. Next we have an area that just looks like a test map for different shapes. On the very left could be a barn or a part of the church on Chapel Rock, with the other shapes that could be just generic shapes for parts of a building, but we don't really have too much to go off of. The third level is the garden entrance, which is really cool to see, as if you didn't know, the Botanical Gardens was meant to have a hedge maze at the front of it, which was meant to have Mad Hatter's tea party at the center, and you would end up fighting Poison Ivy and Mad Hatter at the same time. We can actually see what this hedge maze looks like in the old image of the 2007 map, but this is my guess, so I definitely could be wrong. The last level that Eversolong was able to get working in the editor was a level for displaying some of the characters. We can see Batman in his 2007 build, the lunatic who pretty much looks the same as the final game, maybe a slight change, a doctor, and either a guard or a male nurse. What's even cooler is that Eversolong was able to mod these characters into the actual game and have them looking as close to how they could have looked in the 2007 build. Starting off with Batman, whose suit looks very off, but I think changing the symbol to black would have looked much better, but I still prefer the release version as it's much cooler in my opinion. The next image is the original version of Penelope Young, who looks much older, and she actually has glasses in this version, and she looks more like Gretchen Whistler, who we meet just before defeating Zaz, so maybe they just reused Penelope's older model for Gretchen, but let me know what you think. And lastly we have Zach Franklin, who looks pretty much the same, but the main difference is that the Arkham uniform is very different to what we got in the final game, where he had a tie and front pockets on his uniform. Not a huge difference, but still very interesting. So that's everything that Eversolong could get his hands on, but he's hoping to get more in the future and plans to mod all of the models and textures from the 2007 build to the final release, so I'll try keep you updated on this. Let me know if there's anything in the 2007 build that you would have liked in the released version. Be sure to like and subscribe. That's all for now. My name is Fo, and Slán.